Finally, I'm back to give you another video. In this video, I didn't think about doing this until came across my face, came across my desk, came across my screen. I am going to review for you guys the Starz show Heels. Yes, Heels. What is Heels about? It's not about shoes, not about podiatrists trying to figure out what's going on with someone's bare skin of their foot. No, it is about wrestling. Uh, if you are a person who knows me well, you know that I am a wrestling fan. Unfortunately, I do not own any wrestling shirts because I have actually never been to a wrestling show. I typically watch wrestling literally every day of the week except for the weekends. Usually that's when pay-per-views are. And I think the only thing I actually have from my childhood is an old Stone Cold cap. I think I outgrew my rock shirt a long time ago. But you know what? Before we get down to the nitty gritty, brother, I want to ask you to please give me a like, a comment, and a subscribe. It really helps out the channel. I appreciate all 103 of you for showing up right now. So let's get down to it. Ooh, yeah. So, again, why is the show called Heels? Well, if you are deep within wrestling, such as a person like myself, and you're within the know, there are two types of. Actually, there are three kinds of characters in wrestling. There are faces, there are heels, and they are the tweeners or the in betweeners. Faces are the good guys. Faces is actually short for baby faces. Baby faces or faces, as they're known nowadays. They're good guys. They don't cheat. They don't use foreign objects to win. Um, they don't get outside help. They don't they don't do a lot of trash talk. They just go ahead and they just do their thing and they win. Heels, if there's a good guy, heels, they are the bad guys. You know, they will cheat. They'll do anything to win. They usually jump people. They distract the referees. They do all sorts of things to get ahead. And the in-betweeners are the ones who can lean either way. Literally, just like the name says, they're in between. Um, for you guys, I'll give you an example. Um, a heel there's so many heels in wrestling, it's crazy. What's a good heel? Vince McMahon is a heel, both in wrestling and in real life. uh, a face would be someone like Roman Reigns back in 2015. Example of a heel is Roman Reigns right now in 2021. A face is John Cena. John Cena's always been a face. A heel, now here's the crazy part: in Attitude Era, we consider Stone Cold a face, but he is technically the beginning stages of an in-betweener. Dude will fight you, will beat your ass, he'll talk shit, but he's not gonna necessarily go out of his way to cheat until he, sided with Vince McMahon. There's been another in-betweener, is technically the Undertaker. Character that comes in and does whatever he wants to do, right? He's not necessarily going to try to cheat, but if you try to screw him over, he's going to get you. And those are in terms of WWE. There's tons of other promotions. If you're talking AEW, good in-betweeners, John Moxley. Great heels are actually the Elite, the Young Bucks with Kenny Omega, and a good face is literally anyone else that fights them, like Hangman Adam Page, funny enough, the Dark Order. Faces and heels. And that's what this show is based around. I did pull up a cast list because I was so immersed in the show, I really wasn't paying attention to character names except for Jack and Ace, and I really wasn't paying attention to who was playing these characters. Now, Stephen Amell plays Jack Spade. He's the heel. He's also running the Duffy Wrestling League. This is a wrestling league that's in Duffy, Georgia. His brother Ace is the face. He's the younger brother. He has inherited this company from his father. Um, Now, usually when I do these type of reviews, I kind of do play by plays. I'm not gonna do a play by play for this. I'm gonna give you, the good parts from beginning, middle, end, the little spicy tidbits, and some things that stood out to me. Um, One of the things that stood out to me is we are instantly greeted with typing. Um, that's because Jack is typing out a script. Yes, we all know that wrestling is scripted. Please don't call it fake. There's a reason why we don't call it fake. And I'll got some notes right here. I'm gonna scribble it right in the middle where there's the only space I have. Um, excuse me. He's typing out how the finish is gonna go, what happens. He's the booker. A booker is usually the person who books the show. He decides who wins, who loses. Now, typically, unfortunately, within the modern era of WWE, everything is decided. What the people going to, what promos they're going to say, sometimes what they're going to do. New Japan Pro Wrestling does exactly the same thing. Back in the day with WCW, they were fly by your seat, and by fly by your seat, that is typically how wrestling is done. Places like AEW, you tell I'm an AEW fan. Places like AEW, Impact Wrestling, generally smaller indie promotions. I forget which one is with the death matches with Nick Gage. Um, I'll probably come up with find out their promotion name later. But generally, it's all improvised. Most wrestlers do things by the fly, especially the ones that have been doing it for 10, 15 years. Even the ones who've been doing it for at least 5 years or so. They know what they're doing to the point where you're doing a lot of communicating. You have to trust who you're working with. And that kind of stood out to me that Jack is typing this up. Typically, indies, they just tell you who wins, who loses. They don't tell you how you do it, right? There are kids in the show. Most notably, Jack's son, who I don't have a name for him. I forget his name. Jack's son cheers for his uncle Ace. His wife, Jack's wife, played by Allison Luff, Stacy Spade. Excuse me. She cheers on her husband, even when everyone else is booing her. She cheers him on, and the Jack character more or less reminds me of a mix between Stone Cold because of the vest and because of the I don't give a damn attitude, and Bret Hart when Bret Hart was the heel in his fight between him and his brother Owen. Ace reminds me of Owen Hart mixed with a little bit of Hacksaw Jim Duggan because when he came out with that 2x4 they called him King Ace. That's where my mind went. We also have Ace is played by Alexander Ludwig. I'm pretty sure I told you earlier. Stephen Amell from Arrow plays Jack Spade. There's also Mary McCormack who plays Jack's business partner. She she basically helps him run everything. She's the one that tells him, "Hey, there's a leaky roof in the dome. This needs to happen. This has to happen." We have Kelly Berland, who is actually from Disney XD show. Actually, what was that Disney XD show called? I'm sorry, everybody. Disney XD show called Lab Rats. I'm too old for that type of stuff, so I forget those type of shows. She plays Crystal, who is the love interest for Ace. There's Rooster Robbins. There's a retired football player who's playing James Harrison playing Apocalypse. There's Chris Bauer playing Wild Bill Hancock, who is an old guy that actually came from the promotion when Jack's father was running it. These are more or less our main players. Um, One of the things that stood out in the very beginning is that Ace went off script and cursed. He said, "Pardon my language," the way he says "fuck you" to his brother. Behind the scenes, everybody in gorilla positions, the place where before you go out to wrestle and you come back in and the show is being produced and flowed from there. Um, Everybody's excited, and he's upset about his brother. His brother's saying, don't do this, and you're not supposed to curse. But he got a huge pop. Usually in wrestling, if they're making noise, it's a great thing. You want people to either cheer you or boo you. If people are dead silent, you're in trouble. And the big match for the title belt, which Jack is holding between him and his brother. And he is having a hard time figuring out what happens. And I love the title. The title for this episode is called Kayfabe. What is Kayfabe, you say? Kayfabe is the reality of what's going on in that wrestling. So, in Kayfabe, Undertaker threw a guy in a coffin and buried him alive. We all know in real life, the person really wasn't buried alive, isn't really staying buried alive. In kayfabe, in kayfabe, back in 95, 93, I think, I want to say 95, Austin and The Rock hated each other. That's in kayfabe. But in real life, behind the scenes, in real life, Stone Cold Steve Austin was one of the biggest supporters of Dwayne Johnson. One of the reasons why he is as big a star as he is today. And we're seeing these characters go through their day-to-day lives, and it's quite interesting. I can't remember the name of this guy. I can't remember his character actually. I feel bad for forgetting his name because he is one of the main characters. His wife is actually pregnant, and this is a small town, like I said. Everybody knows everybody. We actually meet Jack's mother. She shows up at church, and he actually makes a comment later on when Bill shows up that his mother only talks to Jesus. I mean, she only goes to church, and that's pretty much all she does. Um, Someone had to correct the pregnant woman who doesn't really understand the business. You cannot call it fake. Why do you not call it fake? Well, if any of you have watched Young Rock, it's disrespectful to call wrestling fake because yes, we know that things are scripted. They know who's going to win and who's going to lose. The bookers do, obviously, but and sometimes smart fans know. The problem is these people are actually, doing flips. They're actually slamming each other. They're actually taking chair shots. They're actually going through tables at times. Those who tend to want to do those things. That's not fake. These people can get hurt, and if they didn't train for as long as they did, they didn't work hard for as long as they could hurt themselves or hurt the people they're working with. That's why it's disrespectful to call it fake. So, unfortunately, while Jack is trying to figure this out, he has a bit of a spending problem. He doesn't want his wife to work because his mother never had to work while his father ran the business, and she wants to go and work. They are fighting. They're having issues, and one of their fights is he's spending money. He bought fog machines. He also bought GoPros. He's done so much to try to improve the business and make it better from when his father had died and passed it along to him. And we come to find out later on in the episode, their father ended up killing himself. We don't know why. I look forward to seeing what happens with that. We also see at this church scene where where Jack was more or less convinced and coerced to go and join the church because he wants to stay behind and write the script. He needs to figure out how to end this match and what's going to go on. And we see that his brother Ace, the guy, is peeing outside of church on a tree as opposed to going to inside and using the restroom. We can already see that he's reckless. As a matter of fact, he is stolen from the local store for years and years, but the lady who owns it never turned him in because their father had helped her and her family out when she needed. And this dude literally belittles her in public, like calls her. She's a larger woman. He calls her fat. Talks about they laughed when her dog died because they say, oh, she might eat the dog. It's how they treat her. How he treated her was horrible. Again, it's a small town. Apparently the woman left crying, and of course they got back to Jack, right? And we do get a good sense in this show. One of the things I really do like is how hard is it to either keep up these appearances because there's children here, right? When the children see Jack as he's driving and he turns and looks out the side of the window, they run down the street because hey, this is the bad guy that might beat us up. That's part of the great thing about wrestling, is especially not just for smart marks like myself who I get immersed in it. I still cheer and boo the people who are good or bad, or people that I like. It's just that's what you're doing it for the people as well as understanding that you love it yourself. I do really one of the great things that this episode shows is he's having a hard time at home. You have to. He has a day. He probably does have a day job. We don't know what it is yet. But at the same time, he's trying to run this wrestling company. Maybe the wrestling company is his business. Uh, Other folks do have day jobs. We actually do see a little bit of in work practice with a newbie and the other character, a black guy with an afro. Didn't really catch his name. He had to tell him. Well, he had him do a elbow drop on him, and the young lady, the young lady Crystal, she wants to be a wrestler, but there's only valets. There's only girls that are kind of like your hype woman that are there at the moment. I have a feeling that we're going to get more female wrestlers in this show. Um, she explains, yeah, you're not supposed to drop your actual elbow on him. You're supposed to put all the weight in your leg and just let the arm dangle there. So there's a lot to they're showing again. There's a lot to this than just actually doing physical moves, right? Um, where am I here? Again, I say GoPros and fog machines. I love that this is in the modern era. This is more than likely, if not 2020, 2021 going on right now. Uh, it's very much appreciated. There's actually a reference to the Ric Flair and Sting match back in, I want to say 92. Please don't crucify me on this. I was trying to take notes and pay attention, and I didn't feel like researching it. But actually, if I do remember correctly, it is. Oh crap! It is in 1991, and Sting had broke kayfabe to say Ric Flair was the greatest champion of all time, and everybody was stunned. Why was it stunned? Because he had to break kayfabe to let people know how great of a performer he was. And again, I told you this is heavy on families. The one star who won their Rumble, who was probably going to be the next guy in line, he's going to quit so he can work more hours and make more money. He's going to have a kid on the way. Wrestling is a lot of traveling. It's hard not just on the people doing the wrestling, it's hard on the families of the wrestlers. Because what they do can be dangerous if you're not properly trained, and sometimes accidents do happen. That's a really great thing that I love that they keep pointing out. I mentioned the scripts earlier, and I mentioned keeping everything in line. It does seem that Jack has an issue with letting go of things, and we nice little previews where they have different sound bites from later episodes within the show. It does seem that is his biggest problem, and one of the biggest issues, which I love they address, how do you keep it fresh? You know, if he beats him and takes the belt, well, if Ace beats Jack and takes the belt, where do they go from there? So the plan would be, instead of the obvious having Ace win, Jack wins, and Ace has to build himself up. Pardon me. And of course, he has to build himself up anyway because he made a local woman cry in public and leave work from to home early. I am interested in how much racism is in this, you know, small Georgia town because the Colombian guy, he tried to be a good guy or tried to be a good bad guy until the last guy, Jack's father, gave him a mask, told him to put the mask on. Now he is a legal Mexican luchador that everybody hates. And literally, he loves pointing it out to the fans, hey, I'm legal. That's what, that's what people love to hate. That is one of the tropes of wrestling, the bad foreigner, which if done well, it won't be old. It won't get old if done well, of course. I did see one cameo, which, funny enough, uh, Chicago's own CM Punk is supposed to be a recurring character. Stephen Amell actually did ring work with CM Punk to get ready for this role. Uh, Side note, CM Punk might be coming back to wrestling at AEW this Friday. Anyway, a cameo was from Doc Gallows, aka Luke Gallows. If you probably remember him in WWE, he played Festus, which I enjoyed the role because it was dumb, but he's part of the Bullet. He's part of the original Bullet Club in New Japan Pro Wrestling. He is part of the Good Brothers when he came over to WWE again with Carl Anderson and AJ Styles, and he's still part of the Good Brothers after he left to go back to Impact. He is actually currently one half of the Impact tag teams with Carl Anderson, and they're doing a lot of work with the Elite because those Elite boys were part of the Bullet Club when they were in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Yes, a lot of backstory. So, here's the beginning. I gave you the middle. I'm gonna give you a little bit towards the end of the middle. Is where Bill. I mentioned Bill. He worked with Jack's father. He comes in. He gives them all barbecue, which Jack's partner says is pretty crappy barbecue, mind you. He comes in and he's saying he's there to scout. He's there to scout for his brother. They like what they see and they want to take him. And Bill does a lot of he shit talks was this what's it called, DWL a lot. Like he got out of there, he became a star, he wrestled on TV and didn't come back and try to help anything. He said if you actually cared about my father, cared about my family, you would have came back and tried to help, but you didn't. And Bill says he's just like his dad because he tells him to get out of his office. And Bill is actually what's driving a wedge. He drives an even deeper wedge between both of the brothers. You know, he meets up with Ace. And he obviously tells him, "Yeah, we want to take you, kid." He gives him Oxycontin to take, which even Ace was like, "I can't really take this because it's gonna have me loopy before the match." He even says his love interest, "Don't worry, we'll get you somebody taller and prettier once you leave." This guy's a great asshole. He actually reminds me of Jimmy Hart. He reminds me of Jimmy Hart and a little bit of Paul Heyman from the well, I don't know if people still consider Paul Heyman an asshole now, but just like from the stories you heard of Paul Heyman, like slimy asshole POS. and he's driving a deep wedge between the brothers because he's saying, make a statement. Sometimes you gotta. He's telling him to actually punch his brother for real, lay on some real punches. Don't show up for signings. And eventually, which I do appreciate, the two brothers do speak. They do end up speaking later on the day of the big show because Jack made it known who was winning, who was losing. He told his brother's gonna lose, and his brother, along with Crystal, were trying to pitch an idea for how he would win. He wants to win the title so he can leave with the title and show how great he is, so he can get picked up by this big company. This is his big chance. He can go up to the big leagues. And it does seem a little bit like Jack is not just jealous, but more or less resentful because his brother is going to leave him there and now he has to pick up the pieces. And unbeknownst to everybody else, the one friend with the baby on the way, I told you earlier, he's going to retire after tonight. After he wins the Rumble, he's going to retire. It's a lot of complicating things, a lot of factors weighing on Jack's back, which is more or less why you have people you can trust, like his partner, to do things like that. And a thing that his brother pointed out, you don't let anybody in. You bottle your emotions up and you try to take on everything yourself. And even and the problem with Ace is fly by seed. You know, Jack even says, once you go on to make it big, you're never gonna come back here. And his brother snaps back and tells him, yeah, I'm gonna end up coming back here and burying you. Because obviously his brother Jack is not gonna go anywhere. And then we have the big finale. And it's nice how we see all these things come together. We see the wrestlers do some of their wrestling. We even see the new guy does the elbow perfectly and gets praised inside the ring. But when it's time for the two brothers to clash, before they go out there, Ace, who is now hopped up on, he snorted something. I don't know if he actually snorted the Oxycontin, but he's hopped up on something. He's still mad. I know Jack is still reeling because Bill stole his moment to rile everybody up and get everybody ready for the show, and he still can't figure out what to do. And as a matter of fact, Jack's wife sneaks out to the back to talk to him, wish him luck and everything, you know. And she says, "So did you figure out who's gonna win?" And Jack says, "Who gives a shit? It's all fake anyway." And that right there let her knew that something was wrong. So before the two brothers go out for their match, Ace says makes a mistake. He ends up saying that one day he's going to kill himself like their father. Jack goes for the choke. Ace goes for the choke. Our big man Apocalypse has to pull them apart, and we get the funny moment of the guy who's no one knows is going to retire hugs everybody, says, "I love you all." And this is a wild moment that he would just say this. And Stephen Amell does a good job of holding that kid, of holding that inside, just constantly looking back at his brother, not believing what he's about to say, what he has actually said. Their ring music is actually really good for the both of them. Very, very, very good. Very Austin esque and very late '80s, early '90s face wrestling music for Ace. And everything goes to hell because Jack goes off script as soon as he throws down the belt, does a German suplex, puts him in a what kind of a freaky kind of arm bar, and he's actually putting real pain on him. And the ref is like looking between Ace and Jack. He's like, "You're gonna have to call it because I'm not letting this go." And his brother's in pain. The crowd's going wild, and his brother's in pain. Ref calls it. They ring the bell, and the entire place goes silent. Ace is in the middle of the ring, clutching his arm, crying. Shaq grabs the belt. He's walking out looking at his brother. Everyone's booing. Everyone's throwing food and drinks in the middle of the ring at Ace. He's crying once again. And when I say once again, that is actually one of the moments that made Crystal fall for this guy. Is in high school, after they had won a big game, he made a big touchdown. He wasn't sharing with everybody else. He was by himself on his knees crying. And she's like, she knew, from that moment, she'd follow him wherever she went, which is wherever he went, which is then followed by a sex scene, a very hilarious sex scene because not everybody left the locker room. Very, very funny moment. But yeah, the swerve at the end really got me. I could tell, you can tell the entire time that Jack didn't know what to do. He didn't, he didn't want to. And typically in real life, you cannot let somebody leave with the belt. If you're going someplace else, kind of like with Bret Hart with WCW, you can't really let them leave with the belt unless there's some type of agreement behind the scenes. And in Jack's mind, he's trying to build up since Ace is going to leave. But I think that little crack about their father killing himself is what drove him to just completely say, all right, we're not even going to have a match that has been built up. We're just going to have a quick 2 minute shoot fight squash match that ended in the ways that no one had ever seen coming. As a matter of fact, Jack's son cried against his mother once he saw what was going on. Pretty sad. The show has me hooked already, guys. If you can't tell, I'm looking very much forward to episode 2 next week. Cause where do you go from here? The DWL is crumbling and dying. It looks like Ace has lost his opportunity. To which Bill is laughing. All this is going on, and Ace is crying in the middle of the ring, getting pelted by garbage. Bill is laughing. It's almost as if he did this on purpose. Oh, we do get a Vince McMahon reference in here. So, interesting. They're doing their homework, they're doing a good job. I got to give this for a starting episode something that I usually try to give things 3 episodes till I say if I'm hooked or not. I'm already all in. 5 out of 5 from me. Please let me know what you thought of the first episode of Heels in the comment section down below. What are you looking forward to seeing? Do you want to see more cameos from wrestlers? Are you enjoying this look into the lives of the people who, you know, try to entertain you? I know I surely do. And hopefully one day I can actually have a wrestling shirt up here to show you guys. As always, thank you for showing up. I appreciate every last one of you. Give me again, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, be notified of more videos like this. More heels is coming. As long as they keep making this show, I'm gonna keep making these reviews. Please remember to share the video so you can, you know, get out the word. See what other people think of what this guy thinks of heels. As I said before, thank you. I appreciate you. Be good, be blessed. Wash your hands, wear a mask. Black Lives Matter, and I will definitely see you next time, brother.